The morning sun cast long shadows across Luna Station as Admiral Jack Morris reviewed the daily reports from across the solar system. Earth had been at peace with the galaxy for nearly 3 years now, ever since the Galactic Council had accepted humanity as their newest member. Jack sipped his coffee and watched the blue marble of Earth spinning slowly below through the observation deck windows. Dr. Lisa Grant was already busy in her laboratory on Earth, studying samples from 12 different alien species that now called humans their allies. The Xenobiology Research Division had grown from a small team of curious scientists to a massive facility housing researchers from around the world. Lisa loved her work and felt proud that humanity had earned its place among the stars through peaceful cooperation and scientific achievement. The Galactic Council consisted of 12 advanced alien species who had been exploring space for thousands of years before humans ever left their home planet. The council meetings took place on a massive space station called Harmony Point, located exactly between the territories of all member species. Earth had been invited to join after decades of careful observation, during which human diplomats had proven their species could be trusted with advanced technology and interstellar politics. Jack Morris had been promoted to admiral just 6 months ago, making him the youngest person ever to command the Earth Defense Fleet. The fleet was small compared to other council members, consisting mainly of patrol ships and cargo vessels that helped maintain trade routes between Earth and alien worlds. Most people on Earth believed the fleet existed primarily for ceremonial purposes, since the Galactic Council had maintained peace for over 2 centuries. Lisa Grant finished examining a tissue sample from a Centauran trader who had visited Earth. Last week, the alien biology was fascinating, with cells that could adapt to different atmospheric conditions within minutes. She made notes about potential medical applications for humans before moving on to her next project. The research station where she worked was built into the side of Mount Everest, hidden from casual observation, but equipped with the most advanced laboratories humanity had ever constructed. The communication array on Luna Station suddenly came alive with urgent signals from the outer colonies. Jack Morris set down his coffee cup and hurried to the command center, where his communications officer, Amy Foster, was already analyzing the incoming data. The signals were fragmentary and filled with static, but the few clear words they could make out sent chills down everyone's spine. Amy Foster had been monitoring deep space communications for 5 years and had never heard anything like these. Transmissions. The voices sounded human, but were filled with panic and terror. She could hear explosions in the background and what sounded like weapons fire. The last clear transmission came from Europa Station, where a frightened voice shouted about massive ships appearing out of nowhere before the signal cut to static. On Earth, Lisa Grant received an emergency alert on her personal communicator just as she was about to leave the laboratory for lunch. A message was from the Global Defense Network, informing all senior personnel that unidentified vessels had been detected entering the solar system. She immediately contacted her research team and ordered them to begin emergency protocols that had been established years ago but never used. The Zephyrian Empire had been watching humanity for months, studying their military capabilities and political structure. Commander Vex Korath stood on the bridge of his flagship, a massive warship called the Iron Talon, as his fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. The Zephyrians were known throughout the galaxy as ruthless conquerors who had never been defeated in battle. Their technology was centuries ahead of most other species, and their warriors were trained from birth to fight and die for the Empire. Commander Korath believed that humanity had gained membership in the Galactic Council through political manipulation rather than genuine strength. The Zephyrians had been denied council membership for decades because of their aggressive expansion policies, and Korath resented the fact that these primitive humans had been accepted so easily. He planned to demonstrate human weakness by conquering. Earth quickly and efficiently, proving to the Council that their newest members were unworthy of protection. Jack Morris watched the tactical displays in horror as more than 200 Zephyrian warships moved through the outer solar system like a deadly swarm. Each ship was larger than anything in the Earth Defense Fleet, and their weapon systems were already charging for battle. The Admiral realized that humanity was facing the greatest threat in its history, and they had less than 6 hours before. The enemy fleet reached Earth.Amy. Foster established emergency communications with Earth's government while simultaneously sending distress signals to the Galactic Council. The response from Harmony Point was immediate but not encouraging. Council Speaker Theron, a wise reptilian diplomat who had sponsored Earth's membership, informed them that the Council could not intervene in what appeared to be a legitimate territorial dispute. The Zephyrians had not officially declared war, and Council law prevented military action until formal hostilities were announced. Lisa, Grant's research station, received classified orders to evacuate all non-essential personnel and prepare for potential ground invasion. She refused to leave, instead ordering her team to begin analyzing any Zephyrian technology they could access through their deep space monitoring equipment. If humanity was going to survive this attack, they would need every advantage they could find. The first Zephyrian ships reached the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, where they encountered a small patrol squadron led by Captain Ben Parker aboard the destroyer S. Defiance. Ben had been born on Mars and had spent his entire adult life protecting the space lanes between Earth and the outer colonies. He looked at the massive enemy fleet approaching his position and knew that retreat was the logical choice. But something deep inside told him to stand and fight. Commander Korath expected the human patrol ships to flee immediately when they saw the size of his fleet. Instead, he watched in surprise as the small Earth vessels moved into attack formation and began broadcasting warnings for the Zephyrian ships to leave the solar system. The commander laughed at their audacity and gave orders for his forward squadrons to destroy the human ships quickly and continue toward Earth. Jack Morris received Captain Parker's final transmission from the asteroid belt just as the shooting began. Ben's voice was calm and professional as he reported engaging superior enemy forces, but Jack could hear the determination behind the words. The Admiral realized that Earth's small defense fleet was about to face an enemy that had conquered dozens of worlds, and humanity had nowhere to run. Captain Ben Parker watched the massive Zephyrian fleet approaching through the asteroid belt and felt his heart racing with anticipation rather than fear. His destroyer Z Defiance was barely 1/10 the size of the smallest enemy warship. But Ben had been trained by the finest military instructors Earth had ever produced. He opened a secure channel to his crew and spoke in the calm voice that had earned him respect throughout the Earth Defense Fleet. The 5 ships under Ben's command moved into a formation that looked random to Zephyrian observers but followed tactical principles developed in secret military academies hidden across Earth's solar system. Lieutenant Commander Sally Brooks piloted the escort ship UNS Guardian, while Captain Mike Turner commanded the fast attack vessel UNS Lightning. Each ship carried weapons and defensive systems that appeared standard, but had been enhanced with technologies that Earth had never revealed to the Galactic Council. Commander Vex Korath expected the human ships to fire a few desperate shots before being quickly destroyed, but instead he watched his forward squadron encounter resistance, unlike anything they had seen before. The small Earth vessels moved with precision and coordination that impressed even veteran Zephyrian officers. Their weapons seemed weak at first glance, but each shot was placed with surgical accuracy against vulnerable points in Zephyrian ship design. Ben Parker had studied Zephyrian military tactics for 3 years as part of a classified program that most humans knew nothing about. Earth's intelligence services had been gathering data on potential threats since joining the Galactic Council. and the Zephyrian Empire had always been considered the most dangerous. Ben knew exactly where to hit enemy ships to cause maximum damage with minimal firepower, and his tactical computer was loaded with targeting information that took the aliens completely by surprise. On Earth, General Kate Sullivan received the alert about the Zephyrian attack while reviewing defensive plans in a bunker complex beneath the Colorado mountains. Kate had been preparing for this moment for over 5 years, ever since intelligence reports first suggested that humanity might face a major military threat. She activated protocols that had been established in absolute secrecy, sending coded signals to installations across the planet that most government officials did not even know existed. The first orbital platforms began emerging from their hiding places among Earth's asteroid mining operations, just as the Zephyrian fleet passed the orbit of Mars. These platforms had been disguised as industrial equipment for years, but now they revealed their true purpose as massive weapons arrays capable of engaging targets at incredible distances. The power sources for these platforms came from fusion reactors that had been built using technology borrowed and improved from 6 different Council species. Dr. Lisa Grant received urgent orders to begin analyzing Zephyrian ship configurations from her laboratory inside Mount Everest. Her research team had been studying alien military technology for years under the cover of peaceful scientific cooperation, and now that knowledge would be put to its ultimate test. Lisa's assistant Danny Rodriguez had already begun running computer simulations of Zephyrian weapon systems based on intelligence gathered during previous diplomatic encounters. The underground facilities beneath major cities around Earth suddenly came alive with activity as thousands of military personnel took their positions at control stations that the general public had never seen. These bunkers had been constructed during the early years after first contact with alien civilizations, when Earth's leaders realized that humanity needed to be prepared for the possibility that not all galactic neighbors would be friendly. Captain Ben Parker scored the first significant hit against a Zephyrian heavy cruiser when his targeting computer identified a weakness in their shield generators that no other species had ever discovered. The enemy ship's protective barriers flickered and failed, allowing follow-up shots from the Unzi Lightning to penetrate their hull armor. Commander Korath watched in disbelief as one of his most powerful vessels suffered serious damage from weapons that should have been barely capable of scratching the paint on Zephyrian ships. Amy Foster established contact with resistance networks throughout Zephyrian space that had been secretly supported by human intelligence operatives for over 2 years. These networks consisted of species that had been conquered by the Empire but never fully broken, and they had been waiting for an opportunity to strike back against their oppressors. Amy's communications revealed that humanity had been building alliances across the galaxy while maintaining the appearance of peaceful isolation. The railguns hidden beneath Earth's major mountain ranges began emerging from camouflaged installations as General Sullivan activated the planet's deepest defensive secrets. These weapons had been built using magnetic acceleration technology that human engineers had developed by combining principles learned from multiple alien species, but refined to levels of power and accuracy that exceeded anything the original designers had imagined possible. Dr. Lisa Grant made her first breakthrough when she realized that human brain patterns could interface directly with captured Zephyrian computer systems in ways that no other species had ever achieved. This discovery came from years of studying alien neurology under the pretense of medical research. But the real purpose had always been to find ways that human minds could penetrate enemy defenses. Danny Rodriguez successfully accessed a damaged Zephyrian probe that had been recovered months earlier, downloading tactical data that would prove invaluable in the coming battle. Commander Korath found himself facing an enemy that seemed to anticipate his every move and counter his tactics before he could fully implement them. The human ships appeared to have detailed knowledge of Zephyrian military doctrine and were using that information to exploit weaknesses that the Empire had never realized existed. His officers reported that Earth's defensive capabilities were far beyond anything their intelligence had predicted, and the attack that should have been over within hours was turning into a genuine military challenge. Ben Parker's small squadron continued to harass the Zephyrian advance, while calling and targeting data to the orbital platforms that were now fully deployed around Earth. The captain realized that his role was not to stop the enemy fleet, but to gather intelligence and buy time for Earth's true defenses to come online. Every minute his ship survived meant more data for the tactical computers and more time for the planet's hidden weapons to prepare for the main battle. Council monitoring stations detected massive energy signatures coming from Earth. That registered far higher than anything humanity had ever demonstrated during their membership evaluation. Council Speaker Theron realized that the species they had welcomed as junior partners possessed military capabilities that rivaled the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, and they had been hiding their true strength behind a carefully maintained facade of peaceful cooperation. Admiral Jack Morris stood in the command center of Luna Station as reports flooded in from across the solar system, showing that Earth's hidden defenses were performing far better than even he had dared to hope. The time had come to launch Operation Starfall, a coordinated counterattack that would demonstrate to the galaxy that humanity was not the weak species that everyone believed them to be. Jack opened secure channels to military commanders who had been waiting years for this moment to arrive. Captain Ben Parker received new orders that made him smile for the first time since the battle began. His squadron was being reinforced by stealth fighters that had been hidden in storage facilities throughout the asteroid belt, waiting for exactly this kind of emergency. The fighters were piloted by men and women who had trained in absolute secrecy for missions that officially did not exist. Using technology that Earth had never admitted to possessing, the stealth fighters emerged from their hiding places like deadly shadows, invisible to Zephyrian sensors due to adaptive camouflage systems developed by engineer Lucy Chong and her team at the Titan Research Facility. Lucy had spent 5 years perfecting technology that could bend electromagnetic radiation around small spacecraft, making them completely undetectable to conventional scanning methods. The fighters moved through space like ghosts, approaching Zephyrian command ships without triggering a single alarm. Colonel Pete Johnson led the first wave of boarding parties that launched from the stealth fighters toward the largest Zephyrian vessels. His soldiers wore powered armor that had been developed by combining technologies from multiple Council species, but enhanced with improvements that made them superior to anything their alien allies had ever created. The armor could adapt to different atmospheric conditions and gravity levels while providing protection against energy weapons that would normally be fatal to unprotected humans. Commander Vex Korath was reviewing tactical displays when his flagship suddenly shuddered under impact from weapons that his sensors had never detected approaching. Alarms began sounding throughout the ship as his officers reported that unknown attackers had somehow penetrated their outer defenses and were now fighting their way through the corridors toward critical systems. The commander could not understand how primitive human technology had managed to surprise his advanced military forces. Dr. Lisa Grant made the breakthrough that would change the course of the battle when she discovered that human brain patterns could interface directly with Zephyrian artificial intelligence systems in ways that no other species had ever achieved. This discovery came from years of studying alien neurology and computer science, but the implications were staggering. Humans could potentially take control of enemy ships by connecting directly to their central computers. Technician Ray Brooks volunteered to test Dr. Grant's theory by attempting to hack into a damaged Zephyrian probe that had been captured during the initial fighting. Ray had been studying alien computer systems for 3 years and understood their basic architecture, but he had never tried to establish a direct mental connection with foreign technology. He placed the experimental interface device on his head and felt his consciousness expand beyond his physical body. The sensation was unlike anything Ray had ever experienced as his mind connected with the Zephyrian computer network and began moving through data streams that contained tactical information about the entire enemy fleet. He could see deployment patterns, weapons capabilities, and command protocols that would give Earth's forces enormous advantages in the ongoing battle. Ray realized that he could do more than just observe the enemy systems. He could actually control them. Colonel Johnson's boarding teams fought their way through Zephyrian ship corridors using tactics that had been developed specifically for combat in alien environments. The powered armor allowed human soldiers to move and fight in conditions that would normally be impossible, while their weapons had been designed to be effective against the advanced materials used in Zephyrian ship construction. The aliens found themselves facing opponents who seemed to anticipate their defensive measures and counter them with precision. Lucy Chung watched from her control station as the stealth fighters executed attack patterns that had been rehearsed hundreds of times in secret training exercises. Each pilot knew exactly where to strike Zephyrian vessels to cause maximum damage, while avoiding their strongest defensive systems. The fighters carried weapons that appeared conventional, but incorporated targeting systems and power sources that made them far more effective than their size would suggest. Brooks successfully penetrated the main computer network of Commander Korath's flagship and began causing systematic failures throughout the Zephyrian fleet. Navigation systems started providing false coordinates, while weapons targeting computers began selecting friendly ships as potential threats. The young technician realized that he could turn the advanced Zephyrian technology against itself, creating confusion and panic among enemy forces who could not understand what was happening to their systems. Earth's moon suddenly revealed its greatest secret as massive sections of the lunar surface began opening to expose particle beam arrays that had been hidden beneath artificial craters for over a decade. The moon had been converted into a weapons platform so large and powerful that it could engage multiple enemy fleets simultaneously. But the project had been so classified that even most Earth government officials did not know it existed. Admiral Morris coordinated the lunar weapon systems with the orbital platforms and stealth fighter attacks to create a web of destruction that began systematically dismantling the Zephyrian fleet. Each weapon system had been positioned to provide overlapping fields of fire that would prevent enemy ships from finding safe positions anywhere in Earth's orbital space. The Admiral realized that humanity had created the most formidable planetary defense system in the known galaxy. Commander Korath watched his fleet being torn apart by weapons and tactics that he had never encountered before, while his own computer systems seemed to be working against him. Ships that should have been under his direct control were firing on each other or flying into asteroid fields due to navigation errors that made no sense. The commander began to understand that humanity possessed capabilities that the Zephyrian Empire had never even imagined possible. Colonel Johnson's teams reached the central command sections of multiple Zephyrian vessels and began taking control of critical systems while the enemy crews struggled to mount effective resistance. The human soldiers moved through alien ship layouts with confidence born from years of studying captured Zephyrian technology, while their armor protected them from weapons that would have killed ordinary troops. Pete realized that Earth's military had been preparing for this conflict longer and more thoroughly than anyone had suspected. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened as reports arrived from the battle raging around Earth, and Council Speaker Theron found himself staring at tactical displays that showed capabilities he had never imagined humanity possessed. The reptilian diplomat had sponsored Earth's membership 3 years ago because he believed humans were a peaceful species with potential for scientific advancement. But the military demonstration unfolding before his eyes revealed that Earth had been hiding secrets from their galactic allies, Intelligence Officer Nancy White appeared on the main communication screen from a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, her calm expression contrasting sharply with the chaos of battle. Reports flooding the council chambers. Nancy had been waiting for this moment since joining Earth's intelligence services 8 years ago, and now she was authorized to reveal information that would shock every species in the galaxy about humanity's true preparations for interstellar conflict. President Carol Adams walked into the Earth War Room, surrounded by holographic displays, showing human military assets scattered across dozens of star systems, installations that the Galactic Council had never known existed. Carol had been elected on a platform of peaceful cooperation with alien civilizations, but she had also been secretly overseeing the largest military buildup in human history, while maintaining the appearance of a species interested only in trade and scientific exchange. Nancy White began her presentation to the Council by revealing that Earth's intelligence services had been systematically gathering tactical information about every member species for over 6 years, building detailed assessments of their military capabilities, political structures, and potential vulnerabilities. The data collection had been disguised as cultural exchange programs and scientific cooperation projects, but the real purpose had always been to prepare humanity for the possibility of galactic conflict. Commander Vex Korath received urgent reports from across his fleet indicating that human forces were appearing throughout Zephyrian space, attacking supply bases and communication stations that were supposed to be heavily defended and completely secret. The commander realized that Earth had been conducting intelligence operations deep within the Empire for years, gathering information and establishing networks that were now being activated against his people. Commander Steve Parker led a liberation fleet that emerged from hyperspace behind Zephyrian battle lines, his ships carrying weapons that combined technologies from 6 different Council species, but refined and improved by human engineering teams. Steve was Ben Parker's older brother and had been commanding secret operations beyond Earth's officially recognized territory for over 4 years, building alliances with oppressed species throughout the galaxy. The Liberation Fleet included volunteers from 3 species that the Zephyrians had conquered in previous campaigns, but these former victims now flew ships equipped with advanced human weapons and had been trained in tactical doctrines that turned their desire for revenge into devastatingly effective military action. The sight of their former slaves returning as armed opponents filled Zephyrian crews with a fear they had never experienced before. President Adams addressed the Galactic Council directly from her war room, explaining that humanity had spent years analyzing galactic politics and identifying species that posed potential threats to peaceful civilization. Earth had concluded that the Zephyrian Empire represented the greatest danger to galactic stability, and human military planning had focused primarily on developing capabilities to counter their aggressive expansion. Council Speaker Theron listened in amazement as President Adams revealed that Earth had established hidden bases in over 40 star systems, many of them located in regions that the Council believed were uninhabited or too dangerous for colonization. Human engineers had been working for years to adapt alien technologies for military purposes while simultaneously developing original innovations that exceeded the capabilities of their source materials. Nancy White displayed tactical analyses, showing that human strategists had identified weaknesses in the military doctrines of every major galactic power, including detailed plans for countering potential threats from each Council member species. The intelligence officer explained that Earth's peaceful cooperation had been genuine, but humanity had also been preparing for the possibility that diplomacy might fail and military action would become necessary. Commander Korath watched his rear guard being systematically destroyed by forces that seemed to know exactly where Zephyrian ships would be most vulnerable, while simultaneously receiving reports that resistance movements were rising on every world the Empire had conquered. The Human Liberation Fleet was coordinating with local rebels who had somehow acquired advanced weapons and tactical training that made them far more dangerous than they had ever been before. The Galactic Council Chamber fell silent as president. Adams revealed that humanity had been conducting secret diplomatic missions with species throughout Zephyrian space, offering military support and advanced technology to anyone willing to resist imperial expansion. Earth had been building a coalition of oppressed civilizations, while maintaining the appearance of a species focused solely on peaceful trade, relationships. Steve Parker's fleet demonstrated tactical capabilities that surprised even veteran council. Military observers, as human ships moved through Zephyrian formations, like they were following a predetermined plan. The Liberation vessels carried adaptive shielding systems that could adjust to different types of energy weapons in real time, while their own armaments seemed specifically designed to penetrate Zephyrian defensive technologies. Commander Korath realized that his empire had been infiltrated and studied by human intelligence operatives who understood Zephyrian military capabilities better than many of his own officers. The attacks on his supply lines were being conducted with surgical precision that could only come from detailed knowledge of imperial logistics and communication protocols that were supposed to be absolutely secure. Nancy White concluded her presentation by informing the Council that Earth had developed contingency plans for military conflicts with every major galactic power, not because humanity desired war, but because human leaders believed that preparedness was the best way to maintain peace. The intelligence networks and military capabilities being revealed during the Zephyrian attack represented only a fraction of Earth's true defensive preparations. President Adams offered the Galactic Council access to human military technology and tactical expertise for defensive purposes, while making it clear that Earth would no longer tolerate aggressive expansion by any species, regardless of their political connections or historical precedents. Humanity was prepared to use its hidden capabilities to enforce galactic peace if diplomatic solutions proved insufficient. Council Speaker Theron found himself facing a complete re-evaluation of Earth's role in galactic civilization as he realized that the species he had welcomed as junior partners actually possessed military and intelligence capabilities that could reshape the balance of power throughout known space. The Zephyrian attack had revealed that humanity was not seeking protection from the Council, but was offering to become the galaxy's protector. The final battle for Earth began as Admiral Jack Morris coordinated the combined human fleet in a defensive formation that stretched from the moon's orbit to the edge of Mars, creating the most formidable military barrier that any species in galactic history had ever assembled around a single world. Every ship in the fleet carried weapons and defensive systems that represented the culmination of years of secret development, while their crews had trained for scenarios that most galactic civilizations had never even imagined facing. Engineer Tony Martinez sat in the primary control center, deep beneath Earth's surface, his hands moving across control panels that connected to the planet's ultimate defensive secret. Tony had spent 7 years working on Project SHIELD, a planetary defense system so advanced and powerful that its activation would announce to the galaxy that Earth possessed technology beyond anything previously demonstrated by any council. Member Species. Commander Vex Korath watched from his damaged flagship as the remaining Zephyrian forces prepared for what he knew would be their final assault against a planet that had proven far more dangerous than anyone in the Empire had believed possible. Half of his fleet had been destroyed or disabled by human forces that seemed to anticipate every tactical decision he made, while his supply lines had been severed by liberation forces that included his own former slaves fighting alongside human advisors. Dr. Lisa Grant and her research team had successfully decoded the Zephyrian surrender protocols after analyzing captured computer systems and interrogating prisoners who had been taken during the boarding actions. Lisa realized that broadcasting these protocols across the enemy fleet would offer Zephyrian crews the opportunity to surrender honorably rather than face certain destruction in a battle they could no longer win. Tony Martinez activated Earth's planetary defense system as the final Zephyrian assault began, and the planet's surface erupted with energy barriers that created an impenetrable dome extending far into space. Simultaneously, thousands of automated defense drones launched from hidden facilities across every continent, each drone equipped with artificial intelligence systems that could adapt to changing battle conditions and coordinate with each other to create tactical formations that no enemy could predict or counter. Admiral Morris felt a sense of pride as he watched Earth's defenses unfold according to plans that had been developed by the finest military minds humanity had ever produced. The Admiral realized that this moment represented more than just a military victory. It was the announcement that Earth had become a galactic superpower capable of defending not just itself, but any civilization that chose to stand with humanity. Against aggression and tyranny, Commander Koroth made the hardest decision of his military career as he watched his remaining ships being systematically destroyed by defensive systems that seemed to grow stronger with each passing minute. The Zephyrian Empire had never surrendered to any enemy in over 3 centuries of expansion, but the commander could see that continuing this battle would only result in the complete annihilation of his forces without achieving any meaningful objectives. Grant's surrender protocols began broadcasting across all Zephyrian communication frequencies, offering enemy crews the chance to power down their weapons and submit to human custody in exchange for guaranteed safety and eventual repatriation to their home worlds. Many Zephyrian ships immediately responded to these signals, their crews choosing survival over certain death in a battle they finally understood they could not win. Director Helen Ross emerged from her hidden command center to address the Galactic Council from the Strategic Planning Division headquarters, a facility that most government officials had never known existed. Helen had been overseeing Earth's long-term military planning for over a decade, and now she was authorized to reveal the full scope of humanity's preparations for galactic citizenship and the responsibilities that came with advanced civilization. Council Speaker Theron called an emergency session as reports arrived showing that the Zephyrian fleet was either surrendering or retreating from Earth's solar system, marking the first time in galactic history that the Empire had been decisively defeated by forces they had chosen to attack. The reptilian diplomat realized that the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted permanently, and that humanity would need to be offered a completely different role in galactic civilization. Tony Martinez watched his defensive systems automatically target and destroy the few Zephyrian ships that refused to surrender, demonstrating to any observers that Earth possessed the capability to eliminate threats with surgical precision while sparing those who chose peace over continued conflict. The planetary defense grid represented technology that exceeded anything the Galactic Council had previously seen, combining innovations from multiple species with human engineering improvements. Commander Koroth transmitted his final report to the Zephyrian High Command before ordering his surviving ships to withdraw from human space, warning his superiors that Earth represented a military capability unlike anything the Empire had encountered in centuries of conquest. The commander realized that his people would need to completely reevaluate their expansion policies in light of humanity's demonstrated power to protect not just themselves, but their allies throughout the galaxy. President Carl Adams accepted the Galactic Council's offer of senior membership and a permanent seat on the Security Committee, while announcing that Earth would establish the Interspecies Defense Institute to share human military innovations with species committed to maintaining galactic peace. Carol made it clear that humanity's hidden capabilities had been developed not for conquest, but for protection, and that Earth was prepared to defend any civilization that faced aggression from expansionist powers. Grant began working with alien scientists to establish research programs that would combine human tactical innovations with the scientific capabilities of multiple species, creating defensive technologies that would make it impossible for any single civilization to threaten. Galactic stability. Lisa realized that Earth's victory over the Zephyrians was just the beginning of humanity's role as the galaxy's unexpected guardians. Admiral Morris received promotions for Captain Van Parker and other officers who had distinguished themselves during the battle, while simultaneously beginning training programs that would teach mixed-species crews to use human tactical doctrines in defense of their home worlds. Jack understood that Earth's military capabilities came with the responsibility to help other civilizations protect themselves against future threats. The story concluded with young human officers like Lieutenant Kim Foster and Ensign Joe Turner accepting assignments throughout Council space, carrying with them the knowledge and training that would help transform galactic civilization from a collection of isolated species into a unified defense alliance capable of maintaining peace through strength. Earth had revealed itself not as a junior member seeking protection, but as the galaxy's new protector, ready to stand against any force that threatened the freedom and safety of peaceful civilizations throughout known space.